All right, good morning. Welcome to WISPA America 2018. On behalf of the board and staff of WISPA, we are delighted to have you here. In my remarks this morning, I'd like to share some information about the state of our association and where we're headed as an industry. In the long, proud tradition of presidents reporting to us on the state of our union, I'm going to start with a clear message that the state of our union is strong and it is evolving. 2017 was a year of great progress for our industry, and 2018 is shaping up to be another great year. Here's a quick overview, and I'll delve into more detail as we go. But overall, our membership and attendance at our shows is growing. I just checked the numbers a few minutes ago, and I think we're at about 780, and that'll increase as the show goes on. The Carmel report on our industry, which WISPA co-sponsored, and helped release last fall, projected that our nationwide subscribership members and our industry revenues will double over the next 5 decades, or 5 years, sorry. Decades, right? It's a long way into the future. Our advocacy activities are more energetic than ever, and we're on the brink of a possible win in the CBRS spectrum ban. We've upped our game by hiring more professional staff and professionalizing our brand identity and our PR activities. We've improved our website and our social media presence. And related to that, we've taken steps toward improving our communications among the membership. WISPA America is traditionally the smaller of our 2 annual shows, but our attendance here is strong. Like I said, we're over 750 today, but among those attendees, we have 86 exhibitors from all sectors of the industry. We sold out the expo hall again. We offer dozens of sessions covering everything you need to know to run your business better, including business and technical and regulatory issues. Here are just a couple of highlights for this week's event. So coming up next is speed dating. I think this is one of the best parts of the show because our show is more of a user group meeting of WISPs. And we all get to sit at these round tables, and Nathan will present some pretty good questions to the group. We'll all share our answers with each other and get to know each other a little bit better. This evening from 7 to 9, we'll enjoy some good old-fashioned food at Southern Hospitality at our opening reception, taking place at the Southern Kitchen and Bar just down the street. Tomorrow evening, our happy hour reception will take place in the exhibit hall. So the last event mentioned here isn't a WISPA event, but many of us are planning to be there, and we'd love to see you there too. As you may know, some of the longtime leaders of WISPA helped organize a political action committee called WISPAC. This is an independent organization through which friends of our industry can pool together our financial contributions to federal candidates that we like. What WISPAC is doing is really important. So please think about attending the event on Wednesday to learn even more. And of course, throughout the week, we have dozens of sessions covering specific topics in business management, sales, marketing, regulations, technology, and training. We also have the Animal Farm track, which gives you the opportunity to meet with vendors, learn about their technology roadmaps, and offer your feedback. Altogether, this is an outstanding program, and I just want to salute all of the hard work done by the Agenda Committee and all the volunteers that are involved. Let's give them a hand. So let's not forget about our keynotes. On Wednesday, Nathan Stook will talk to us about how to frame a system for growing your company or department. We all need to be better owners and employees. So even if you're not an owner, you'll get something out of this session. We'll touch a little bit on what is, and it'll also touch a little bit on what is coming in our industry. Thursday's keynote is particularly important for anyone in this room who cares about CBRS and the future of our industry. So that's basically everyone in this room. For those of you who are interested in CBRS, and those who follow WISPA's activities in DC closely, and those who only get caught up during our shows, Thursday's keynote will feature some key members of WISPA's CBRS team and will be a unique opportunity to understand the state of play in CBRS, how we got there, where we are, and where things appear to be going in the weeks and months ahead. So we also want to take a moment and extend a special thank you to our 29 sponsors whose logos you see here and on signs throughout the hall. We want to thank you, sponsors, because we couldn't do this without you. Let's give them a hand. So there is one of our diamond sponsors who deserves a little more recognition. The name Cambium Networks is hardly new to anyone in this room. And I think Cambium has been a top-tier sponsor of each and every show that I've been a part of. But last year, Cambium agreed to take its support for WISPA to a whole new level. It's no secret that WISPA is in the policy fight of our lives, not only in CBRS, but throughout the mid-bands. In this effort, every day in DC, our team is going up against opponents who are hundreds of times our size, who have been at it for decades, with many times our resources. I'm proud of what we're doing in DC, but it's undeniable that WISPA is punching above its weight, and we're using our limited resources as efficiently as possible. But there is no denying that resource limitations are holding us back. And when we began the process of developing our 2018 budget, it was clear that we didn't have enough sufficient resources to cover all of our bases. So a few months ago, WISPA approached Cambium Networks with a request for additional support of our efforts to open up more spectrum for WISPs. And I'm pleased to report that Cambium answered the call in a major way. In 2018, in addition to their membership dues, show sponsorships, and everything else that they do, Cambium has pledged an additional $20,000 in financial support for our advocacy efforts. In recognition of this huge commitment to WISPA, we are recognizing Cambium Networks as the founding member of WISPA's Chairman's Circle, a special designation reserved for vendor members who contribute above and beyond for the long-term health of our industry. If you're a Cambium Networks employee or part of their group, will you please stand? They definitely deserve the recognition. Thank you. We talk a lot about the value that our members bring to the table for our efforts in DC. And it's important to remember that phrase, our members. It just doesn't include operator members. It also includes our extremely valuable and loyal vendor members, just like Cambium Networks. Thank you. So over the next few months, we hope other vendor members will consider following Cambium's lead and providing additional support for the critical policy fights we are wagering. Now let me take a few minutes to introduce the members of our board. So in addition to myself, we have Vice Chairman Brian Young with CTI. Garth Nicholas is our treasurer. Mike Whalen, our secretary. And directors Dennis Burgess, Jimmy Carr, Blair Davis, Jeff Kohler, and Mark Radabaugh. This slide and the photos of our board members is a great indication of how broad and diverse our membership is, and how our board is a reflection of all of our members. This board includes representatives from small WISPs, medium-sized WISPs, and our newest member elected last summer is a co-founder of the largest WISP in the nation. The board includes vendors and distributors, WISP deploying fiber, folks from the East Coast, the Midwest, the Great Plains, and the Rocky Mountains. In short, this board is a great reflection of our diverse membership and our broad industry. And I must say that I'm really pleased to be part of this team. We have a great board. There are lots of different perspectives. There's a high level of mutual respect, and there's a unified mission to achieve the best possible outcomes for our members and our industry. So with that, elections are coming up. We're always looking for new blood. 3 board seats will be coming open for nominations. So watch the membership list and the WISPA report for an announcement in May. We'll have a webinar, a campaign period in June through July. Voting will happen in July, and then that new board will be seated in August. It's a 3-year term, so if you have any interest in becoming a board member, I strongly think that you should look forward to going through this process. So let's talk a little bit about our committee chairs. Here is our roster of committee chairs. On the agenda committee, we have Ms. Trina Coffey and Mr. Nathan Stuck. The agenda committee is responsible for all of the sessions that we have. They work through all the moderators, all the speakers. Nathan has developed his own database of programs to work with WISPA. And I think probably, 2 weeks from now, maybe we'll start on WISPAPALOOZA? Already started on it, right? So it's a never-ending job, and really appreciate their help and their contribution. The budget committee is led by our treasurer, Mr. Garth Nicholas. Garth has a very strong accounting background, and this year I think our budget process was the best that it's ever been. Association Management Committee is led by Mr. Brian Young. In this part of the process, he's involved in looking at employment contracts and contracts with our contractors and making sure that everything like that's in the best interest of WISPA. He also chairs our Bylaws Committee, which that's kind of one of those things where they get together maybe once or twice a year and review to make sure that the bylaws correctly reflect what we're doing. Our next committee is some of our most important. We have the FCC committee with Mark Radabaugh. I think this is his 3rd year being the FCC chairman, and he's done a fabulous job of working together and really taking input from the membership to the best he can, and focusing the efforts to make our industry strong in front of the FCC. The nominations committee, this is led by our secretary, Mr. Mike Whalen. Again, so if you're interested in being part of the board, Mike will be making some announcements a little bit later this year, and you can start that process. The Government Affairs Committee, so this committee kind of brings together the work that's being held with FCC and legislative and our PR guys to make sure that our message is consistent. And so I lead that committee. State Coordinators Committee, this is Mr. Garth Nicholas. Again, he's our treasurer, and he's the one that you need to reach out to if you feel like you would like to be a part of something WISPA-wise but don't have enough time for the board. Then you might be able to help out in your state, especially if you know a lot of the other WISPs in your state and have a good relationship with them. This would be an excellent way for you to contribute. And lastly, our Legislative Committee. This is headed by Mr. Jimmy Carr, who has been a part of WISPA's board for the past couple of years and has done an excellent job using his past knowledge of working within DC to help make sure that WISPA's strategic policy objectives are met, and that they're the ones that basically are fighting before Congress and fighting before the Senate and making sure that they work together with the FCC committee to push our goals forward. And so here are members of the WISPA staff who work hard year-round to support your success. Trina Coffey, who works tirelessly to make sure the organization and show are run well year-round. In addition to that, she makes sure that all the employees get the benefits that they deserve and that they're all working together appropriately. And she's done an excellent job of making sure that happens. Will Peterson, who handles our marketing and website. Will also works with our DC team and prepares the newsletter and helps on drafting PR as well. Ariel Coffey, who assists all across the board for WISPA. Anybody that needs her to do something, whether it's somebody on the board or somebody in the staff, she's always happy to help. She also handles your membership and billing issues when you have them. Richard Bernhardt, he handles interfacing with the DC staff, coordinates our message among many different groups, many outside industries, like representing WISPA in WinForum as the chair of the WinForum Spectrum Sharing Committee with CBRS work group. And then there's Gary Helmers, who handles all of our sales and membership sales efforts. When sending in your referrals to our membership, send them his way. He'll be happy to get that WISP on board with WISPA. So let's talk a little bit about the future. We've got a new president position that 4 years ago we kind of decided that we needed to put this path in place. The search for the president and CEO of WISPA began last year. During WISPA's attempt to garner those qualified candidates, it was determined at the time by the board that the process we started was insufficient to procure a highly qualified candidate to lead our organization. In short, putting a job posting on Indeed or Monster got us not very qualified candidates from all across the world. So the board selected 4 directors to lead a special committee in hiring a national search firm. This was completed and the process was started quickly. With multiple trips by myself and other members of the board, we met and interviewed with multiple candidates, and the committee was very pleased with the quantity and the quality of the candidates that applied. We appreciate all the input and candor you have given us about what you seek in that position, but I have to be honest with you. I've been on the board for a very long time. I can tell you that there are some things we do very well. There's some things that we struggle with, and there's some things that are just extremely important for our industry. I've seen the tireless efforts put forth by our legislative FCC committee chairs over the years. They get tired and they move on, and we get new ones that come in, but I'm telling you, it's almost an unthankful position. 5 years ago, when board members like Jeff Broadwick, Elizabeth Bowles, Nathan Stook, Alex Phillips, Forbes Mercy, and many others that were on the board, I put forth together a vision to bring on a full-time president, dedicated to fighting that fight in Washington, D.C. on a daily basis. Yes, we do a pretty good job already with the help from our policy committees and our consultants like Steve, Ari, and Dale. But the long-term effectiveness of having the FCC and legislative chairs putting in all the time that they do, and having the president coordinating all of those efforts and maintaining the staff, well, we were only going to get so far with these functions being filled by volunteers. So I know not many of you are used to some of the budgets that WISPA deals with, the spends which occur with our contracting staff and how we pay our staff, but I can tell you this. These are the rock stars for our organization, and they are very effective in their positions. So our goal was to get a new president on board by WISPA America, but that just wasn't possible. But the good news is the selection process is in its final stage, and we hope to be announcing the next president of WISPA in the coming weeks. So in addition to that, in our professional staff, we have our consultants. And we also rely on our small but mighty team of these guys. So on the lobbying side, we have Ari Storch with Madison Group. On the legal side, that helps with a lot of our FCC filings, we have Steve Coran of Lerman Center. And to facilitate our communications to the PR and the trade publications, we have Dale Curtis of Dale Curtis Communications. So that's our internal story. We're strong and we're growing. WISPA's mission to help build a stronger WISP industry, and I can assure you we're making great strides in the right direction. So WISPA's mission remains the same: to promote the development and advancement of the unification of the wireless internet service provider industry. Elevating and professionalizing our game in DC has been a significant and sustained priority for the last 4 or 5 WISPA boards. We are making huge strides, and I'm so proud of all the work that our team has been doing this past year. One of the first sessions this afternoon is at a panel at 2:15 called WISPA in DC. I really encourage all of you who want to understand just how much WISPA is doing in Washington on your behalf to attend that panel and share your feedback. This is the time for us to hear from you. And additionally, WISPA aims to provide an online forum that encourages you to share and exchange information among the WISP community. We do that through the listservs and now our Facebook groups. Additionally, we demystify the government rules and regulations. Now, I know it's hard sometimes when Steve puts out those notices from the FCC, but for the most part, we also try to follow that up with, this is what it means for you. And that's how we do it. Publicize, promote, demonstrate, and maintain a code of ethical business practices. Promote and support industry-wide communication, coordination, and cooperation between local WISP organizations, national WISP organizations, community wireless organizations, and wireless industry vendors. We do that through bringing you together for these types of shows. So, as many of you know, since the last election, there has been some significant change at the FCC. The Commission is not a political body. Connecting rural America shouldn't be a partisan affair, but the Commission now has 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats. WISPA has strong relationships with all of these commissioners and their staff, and we meet with them on a regularly on issues before the Commission. 3 of the 5 commissioners have attended our conferences or events. So we are very fortunate that FCC Chairman Pai has thus far been a great friend to our industry and a supporter of connecting rural America. We are counting on his leadership and support of the rest of the Commission to support our efforts as private businesses to bridge that digital divide. The reality is that there were actions that the prior Commission took that we thought were steps in the wrong direction, mostly in areas such as imposing additional regulation and burdens on our small businesses. At the same time, there are things that the new majority is considering that will be very harmful to our industry, and CBRS is a prime example. So just in short, the current status of the CBRS debate is a subject of many sessions this week. I couldn't begin to cover all of the information in these brief remarks, so again, those of you who are interested should definitely attend the WISPA in DC session at 2:15 this afternoon, and also the keynote on Thursday. So let me just emphasize a few points and then show you some press coverage from our previous efforts. First, WISPA has taken a multi-pronged approach to this issue. We're working with the FCC commissioners and staff, with the FCC's technical teams. We're working this issue also from Capitol Hill. In the past few months, WISPA members from Michigan, Illinois, Vermont, Colorado, and Kentucky have answered the call and come to DC to lobby their members of Congress on behalf of our industry. Second, WISPA is actively engaged in ongoing discussions with other industry groups and associations, and with other stakeholders in the band. The nature of these discussions limits our ability to share play-by-play details in public settings such as this, but there should be no doubt about how much work is going on and how engaged WISPA is in this fight. And third, you should know that WISPA is working with others to come up with industry-driven rules for the band that will help achieve national priority of connecting rural America. I also want to pause here again because I want to recognize the significant contributions of all of our volunteers, especially those on the FCC committee and legislative committee, and especially the chairman of those two. I'd like to ask Mark Radaball and Jimmy Carr to stand, so that like so many other these board members on the board, these guys make huge sacrifices in their personal lives and their business lives to do what they're doing. Thank you. All right, so you will probably recall that a few years ago, As part of our continued professionalization effort of making DC efforts even stronger, we brought on Dale Curtis Communications to help make sure WISPA's message was being carried in the press. DCC is represented at this show this week by Brianna Franklin. And I hope you will take an opportunity to introduce yourself to her and thank Brianna and Dale for their excellent work. Thanks to the DCC team, WISPA's message is spreading further than it ever has in the past. Some of the clips I'm going to show you here are just a great example of that. For example, here in this one, we are in the same sentence as Google, a good friend to have when you need them. Next, we have some coverage of our ongoing work as leaders in the CBRS band, entering into an agreement with the CBRS Alliance to ensure commercialization of the band in a way that supports our deployment model and our use case. Here's a feature clip of our member, Vertical Broadband, discussing license sizes in the CBRS band. Another one featuring one of our members, Invisimax, on the issue of priority access licenses in the CBRS band. And here's some coverage noting that CBRS is shaping up to be one of the most significant policy fights of the year, talking about WISPA's tooth and nail fight. And more coverage of WISPA's position, but this time by a major regional newspaper. And finally, here's some coverage of an approach that we're taking for some additional spectrum fights that are brewing in the near future. We're interested in connecting rural America. We're continuing to invest our money to do that, and we need mid-band spectrum to get that job done. There's been enough talk about bridging the digital divide. It's time for action in the form of policies that will enable entrepreneurs and innovators to get the job done. So, many of you ask, how can I help? Well, your role is critical. As you've seen, it's been a busy year in terms of our activities in the halls of government, and there will be a lot more information at our panels throughout the shows for those who are interested. But to sum it all up, we're working hard to make sure that WISPA is a solution to the broadband gap, and make sure that everybody knows supporting our agenda is pro-consumer, pro-competition, pro-rule, and pro-taxpayer. All of you have an important role to play. So first, keep doing what you're doing. Your success is part of WISPA's success, and it helps carry our message. Second, get more involved with WISPA. Participate in technical, business, and other programs that we provide, or volunteer to serve on a committee. You don't have to be a chair, but be a part. Third, and this is critical, help us recruit new members. I know sometimes these people are competition to you, but we all have neighbors who are not members. All of you are ambassadors to the association, and we need your help bringing these colleagues into the fold. Reach out to them, talk about everything WISPA is doing on their behalf already, and ask them why they aren't helping out by joining WISPA. Fourth, continue to answer the call. When Mark, Jimmy, Steve, or any of the others ask for help on completing a survey or for volunteers to come to DC, help with an event, raise your hand and become involved. There is one specific thing I'd like to ask every single person in this room to do. If you hold some type of annual company picnic, raise your hand. I'm just curious. A lot of people do that, right? So one of the things that we think you should do is to start inviting your members of Congress to come to those events. Because that's how they will see what you do, how you do it, and how many constituents you employ or provide service to. So my request is simple. And I would like everyone in this room to pledge that they will, at a minimum, invite their member of Congress to their company at the next event that they hold. You'll be surprised at how many members will actually accept your invitation. And when you invite them to your party, you can show them your offices, everything you are doing to providing broadband in their district, and all the technology-based jobs that you are creating, jobs that can't be outsourced, and these are jobs that are created in their communities. And you know what? The next time you want to get their attention about something, they're going to take your phone call and hear you out, because now they know you. So I'll close with, everybody needs to make plans to attend our next event. WISPAPALOOZA in Las Vegas in October is the biggest event for WISPs in the year. It's packed with content and networking opportunities that you don't want to miss, and it's roughly twice the size of this event. I hope to see you there, and thank you for your time.